Ilo is in Abuja. He joins us from there. He's the, again, acting head of Nigeria office, Open Society Initiative. Morning, thank you for joining us. We've been taking a look at this matter. You've spoken about it also previously, but if I remember properly, it's been raised several times as to what we had at the time, how the exclusive list grew bigger. At the time, they did say it was to bring us all together. From your response, though, do you think that eventually, in fact, let me start with this one. What stands out? What's the fundamental points you think should be addressed first, foremost, before we even talk about any other thing and forging ahead?
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, one can't say for sure what is the fundamental point. I mean, there are a lot of issues that are in play here. But for me, I think what should guide the process, what should guide the structure or the content of the federalism we want to practice in Nigeria is the principle of effectiveness. What I mean by this is what works. The system we are currently running in the country is not working. You have issues between the federal government and state government. You have issues about the exclusive list, which everybody agree is unwieldy. I mean, more than 68 items for the federal government to legislate on. You have issues about fiscal responsibility, fiscal oversight. So there's a whole lot of problem with the structure we're running right now. But the question we need to pause and ask ourselves is, what is effective? What can actually work? The system we have right now, I see three key problems with the system. One is the inadequacies of the constitutional provisions around federalism that undermines the effectiveness of the structure we operate in. The second problem is the incoherence in some of our provisions that they contradict each other actually, thereby making it impossible to even apply the principles that are espoused in the law. And then the third problem is the inability to find a balance between state autonomy and federal government autonomy, and at the same time putting in place oversized structures, vertical oversized structures that enables each tier of government to be able to check what the other is doing and check the excesses of the other tier of government. For me, these are the three fundamental problems we have in the system. And for us to even move forward, we have to first of all agree amongst ourselves about what is effective, clarify the provisions of the constitution to avoid unnecessary conflicts, unnecessary confusion, and then strike a balance. Yes, there should be state autonomy, there should be federal government autonomy, but also there should be a mechanism of oversight that is effective so that people cannot sit in their various tiers of governments and run it like a fiefdom and do whatever they want without being accountable to anybody. And this is exactly what we're suffering right now.
All right. You also highlighted, while you delivered some paper on this matter, how that list, something needs to be done about it. And you looked at countries that have moved on, how they made some sort of adjustment here and there to ensure that we proceed. Why do you think we've not been able to make these adjustments in order to move forward?
We need to also understand where we're coming from. Initially, after independence, most of the regions, or rather the regions, were actually very, very independent, to the point that they managed almost 100% the resources within their region. But you remember that what the Civil War underscored was that the regions were powerful enough. One region in Nigeria was powerful enough to wage a war for 30 months without federal government assistance. So that became a problem for people who are in the affairs of the country. And so there was an effort to whittle down the power of the regions with the aim of making them not to be too powerful to succeed or too powerful to undermine the federal government. And that effort to reduce the powers of the region continued unchecked. And then when you have the military who wanted to run the affairs of the country, who wanted to exercise control, and of course not allow the states to be powerful enough to maybe undermine the powers of the federal government, not to allow the repeat of 1966 problem, they started to gradually and progressively reduce the powers of the state governments. And in doing that, they were giving more powers to the federal government. and it continued. Now, the challenge was that when we returned to civilian rule in 1999, we should have paused to ask the question whether the system under the military, which saw the federal government increasingly garner for itself more powers, whether it was actually effective or even remotely operational in a democracy. And if we had asked that question in 1999, perhaps we would have been able to realize that having the federal government doing roads in my village in Achi in Enugu State doesn't just make sense. That was something we did not do because of the phobia of secession and unlimited powers of state and regions. We try to take so much away from them. And now in a democracy is beginning to pose a problem because we are running a federal government that is unwieldy, that is doing almost everything without doing anything right. And the operational question in a federal system in terms of distribution of duties is what tier of government is better placed to perform effectively this function. Second question, what tier of government is better placed to have the people play genuine oversight role in its function of performing a particular duty assigned to it by the Constitution? And for instance, when you talk about primary health care, the answer should be the local government because they're the closest to the people. But that's not what we have right now. So the point is that there's need for us to stop and pause and ask these pertinent questions about who actually can do what. I do not subscribe to giving state governments just more powers, more money to perform functions. I think that in trying to readjust the functions in the exclusive list, we also have to strengthen the oversight mechanisms, especially when it comes to mismanagement of resources. The way the country is presently structured, if you give more powers to the governors, if you give more money to the governors, with this level of weak oversight, it's going to be a big disaster. So as much as we're saying that the federal government list is unwieldy, we need to, prune it down, put functions in the hands of tiers of government that are nearer to the people and more positioned to carry out these functions effectively. We must also be thinking of a very strong oversight mechanism, constitutionally guaranteed, to ensure that governors, that local government chairmen cannot just utilize these funds in whatever way they want. That must be said, and that is very important.
In our quest to answer some of the questions that you have raised, it's very interesting that you've brought out, the perspective of history. Now, in our quest to seek a balance, how do we, forge ahead with history in mind? In the process of removing more powers from the federal government, how do we still remember that at some point this overbearing powers that were in regions also caused us problems in times past?
Now, one point I want to make is this. In the narrative or in the conversations around constitutional reform in Nigeria, there seems to be this perception that there is true federalism, that there is a normative yes when it comes to federal structures that Nigeria must ascribe to. And what people interpret it to mean is the 1960 arrangement, and where the regions have this large latitude to do whatever they can for their region and all of that. I do not think there's anything like true federalism. I still go back to my point earlier that what we have to look for is what is effective. And looking at history, the question we have to ask ourselves was, in 1960, for instance, the system we had, did it work? To some extent, yes, it worked. To some extent, it didn't. Because the queue that came within that time was as a result of the inability of the regions to properly manage their resources and midwife change of government. It was part of the problem. So we have to be very careful in going back to history and picking what works. Yes, there was the pyramid in northern Nigeria because of the robust investment in agriculture. But there were also problems with the system that we're running. So in looking at history, we have to look at what worked. We have to be careful. What I constantly want to put on the table in this conversation is that more powers to the state doesn't necessarily translate to better government.